Azuku Midoriya is born into a world full of superpowers they know as quirks. And these quirks, well, let's just say they vary in various different ways. And normally in the normal reality of My Hero Academia, Azuku is born with a quirk that's, or isn't born with a quirk at all. Now, the expectation was that he could have some sort of telekinesis quirk. The expectation that he could have some sort of fire-breathing quirk. But being born without a quirk was a pretty big deal. Yes, 20% of the world's population was quirkless, but everybody looked at it more like it was 0.001%. So when Izuku is born with a quirk, things happen a lot differently. More, in fact, that Izuku actually is born with a quirk that can't necessarily be explained, but quickly doctors would realize that it is pretty damn powerful. It seems like his body allows himself, or his body itself, moves on its own. I know it sounds a bit odd and a bit kind of different, but his body individually, his arm, his leg, his head, his wrists, his whatever you can think of, they actually move without him even thinking. And that right there is something that, well, Azuku Midoriya is going to have a really good time utilizing, because that is something that not many people, or really nobody, is going to be able to do. And Izuku, well, he's one of very little that exists in this world that can do those things. And Izuku begins to show little bits of this throughout his life and throughout his childhood by straight up just dodging really anything. One day when he's getting bullied by Bakugo around the age of around 10, Bakugo goes to throw a punch. And as he does go to throw that punch, well, let's just say Izuku just dodges it like seamlessly, easily dodging it, just sliding out of the way, moving his head, and it would just whiff so hard that Bakugo would go stumbling forward, and Izuku would leave his leg out as Izuku would trip Bakugo. And in a matter of a split second, the idea of Bakugo being so much better than Izuku would go down the drain quicker than you can think. And after this day, nobody really messed with Izuku. Honestly, they thought he was pretty damn awesome. And as he grew up and as he got older and older, at least throughout, about 12, 13, 14, 15 years old now, he actually started gaining different hair. And it's kind of odd, but he started actually having white hair. And it's definitely an odd thing for Izuku, but he doesn't really pay much attention to it. I mean, it probably has something to do with his quirk, probably something to do with, the powers that he has, or whatever strengths and weaknesses he possibly could ensue. So he kind of just ignores it to an extent. Even the doctors kind of say, yeah, like, don't worry about it. Like, there's nothing bad going on. And yeah, it's not like you're some old person or anything like that. And Izuku's like, all right, like, if you say so, no worries at all. I mean, I guess that sort of adds up to an extent. And Izuku's kind of like, all right, well, so let me just do what I believe is best throughout these years. And that's exactly what he does, right? We have Izuku Midoriya going to class, going just working on different things, and so on and so forth. And he continues to just build himself up. And a lot of these students really believe that he is kind of like the end all be all. He is the one that is going to have the most potential out of them all, and he's the one that's going to really live among the rest, or live above the rest of them. And this is something that Bakugo does not like. I mean, he is not a fan of hearing all of this, because he thinks that he's going to be the best, that he's going to be the one at the top, and that he's going to eventually kind of be the person that takes UA and this little middle school to the next level. That's what Izuku believes he'll be able to do, and that's what he's going to get to. And eventually we have the day that everybody's kind of been waiting for, and that day is to finally get away from this middle school, finally be done with this. And well, the last, or towards the last day of school, the teacher basically asks everyone, like, hey, what do you guys want to do? what's your career like goals and stuff like that. But of course he knows, like, everybody wants to be a hero. That's kind of the thing throughout the entirety of Japan, is everybody wants to be a hero. And that's exactly what Izuku is going to want to do as well, and everybody else too. And so the teacher kind of throws everything away, and he's kind of like, you know what, I already know all y'all want to be heroes. Everybody here wants to, be like All Might, and everybody wants to be like this or that. And yes, and that is 100% the case. So he just throws the papers away and is like, all right, I know you guys want to be heroes, so let's just talk about who's going to UA, who's who's trying out for this, who's trying out for that. And everyone's kind of like, well, we know Bakugo and Izuku, or they're going to, or trying to go to UA. And this is, well, flat out the truth, right? Izuku and Bakugo are both attempting to get into UA high school. So it's kind of like a matter of, well, let's see who does the best. Let's see who's at the top. Let's see who ends up being the hero that they feel like they're destined to be. And that is, well, what Izuku wants to prove here and now. Obviously, he has some time to do it. He has some time to work, and he has some time to get better and more responsible, and just prepare himself whatever's to come. And that's exactly what Izuku is going to do. And Izuku just wants to get started on his training and get started on kind of working towards that goal, and working towards the goal of being kind of the hero he knows he can be. So progressively, Izuku would kind of continue writing down different things in his journal and stuff like that. But obviously, after writing a ton of things down, he would head home that same day. And as he would head home, well, he would go underneath a bridge. This bridge would be the first time, though, that he would go face to face with an actual villain. This being the sludge villain. The sludge villain would attack Izuku, but Izuku's body would move on its own, dodging, weaving, and honestly moving out of harm's way every chance it got. And even his arms and legs would fight alongside of him, and would even kick toward the eyes and any other portions of the sludge villain that needed to be actually hit. And it's just automatic, absolutely, completely automatic for Izuku to just kick and punch and hit things without even really acknowledging or even thinking about things before they even occur. Izuku gets out of harm's way, and eventually he hears All Might come out of nowhere with a Detroit smash. And just as Izuku always does, he gets out of harm's way, watching the sludge villain splatter into little pieces. He would then go on to help All Might, and help All Might kind of gather up the sludge villain and, help out where he can. And Izuku basically talks to All Might a little bit, telling him that he really wants to be a hero just like him and all this other stuff. And he tells All Might that his ability, or his quirk, has a lot to do with being able to move on his own without, well, thinking. And his every body part will basically think or kind of, react on its own. And All Might's like, whoa, that's pretty damn impressive. I mean, at the end of the day, he's never really heard of anything to that degree. He's never heard of anyone being able to do something like that. So it's pretty damn cool to hear. And All Might's even thinking, like, this kid might have potential to be one of the better heroes coming out of UA in a very long time. He thinks he'll definitely have to keep an eye on Izuku Midoriya, because Izuku Midoriya might just be that next big hero, or potentially the hero / student that he really needs to keep an eye on, because he might have the potential to actually take on the quirk of One for All. And this would be something All Might is thinking about. But as he takes the sludge villain, he leaves and heads off. He would then, think about what he should do, or really think about kind of what he should do about this whole UA, and if he should really pick somebody from UA, more specifically, to kind of basically be that successor. Should he really pick somebody from UA to actually be the successor? And yes, he's had thoughts about other people. Should he be should he just pick Mirio? Should he just do this or do that? What should he do, right? That is kind of the idea. And frankly, the whole purpose on why he wants to be a UA teacher. Now, obviously, there's some time in between that and a lot of things for Izuku to do. And that would include Izuku training, preparing and getting stronger. That's the whole idea, and what the whole kind of 10-month period is going to be or revolving around is that for Izuku, and studying and preparing and all that stuff, right? So that's exactly what Izuku is getting into. That is exactly what Izuku is doing. Izuku takes those 10 months, trains with, like maybe different martial arts or things that he believes that he may need. But for the most part, it's a lot of trying to figure out what else could he do with his powers? What else could he do with his strength? There has to be more to what he truly has. There has to be more to what he can do. And he trains, he figures out, he learns so much about, different martial arts and different things that he could be possibly capable of. But of course, there's a long list of things that he has to frankly learn. There's a long list. And that obviously will help him in general. And that will definitely help him throughout this time, making sure that he continues to prepare himself and making sure that he continues to push himself to be even better. But another thing that he's a little worried about is the rumors of dealing with robot kind of things, or robots in general, that you're gonna have to deal with during the UA entrance exam. And he doesn't know. He doesn't know how strong he is. Doesn't really know if he's that powerful. In terms of person to person, of course he can handle his own. But in terms of an actual robot, can he punch through one with a great deal of effort? He doesn't know. He has no clue, but he trains for this for a while and starts realizing that his ability of Ultra Instinct isn't just an ability to dodge. It's actually far greater than just that. His ability to dodge, yes, is awesome, is amazing, and is something that allows him to really up his game beyond what most people would be able to do. But Izuku isn't just have a dodge ability. That's not it. It's not just his ability to dodge. His power that lays really beneath this is also something that Izuku really brings to the table, because Izuku brings his actually freakish and high level kind of just strength, flat out ability to punch through things, because he starts realizing that he is pretty damn strong. And he didn't know about this. He really didn't know. He felt like he wasn't that powerful, but now he realizes that he's no joke in terms of being able to punch things, in terms of punching power. And that's something he's gonna have to utilize, something he's gonna have to use. And right there is something that he'll definitely have to start trying to figure out. But as they creep into the UA entrance exam, Izuku's preparation will definitely come to a head. Because once they get through, the testing portions, once they get through different various portions of the exam, it is now time for something else. Now it is time, after the testing, to do the practical. And the practical is far different than anything anybody really would expect normally, unless you got a little bit of a tidbit from people that have dealt with it in the past. And that is dealing with robots and scoring as much as possible. And Izuku, well, he's completely locked in to do that. And when those gates swing open, he would run forward, dash forward, and borderline fly forward, something that he didn't really know he could do, but something tells him that he kind of can. He would go forward at insane speeds, cut through every single robot, just obliterate them with kick, punch, and it seems like his moves are silky smooth, and on top of that are kind of just fully directed and fully kind of put in a specific direction. And it seems as if Izuku is very accurate with every last little bit he does. And this right here is something that Izuku takes massive benefit from. And Izuku begins to destroy robot after robot, and basically saves even a bunch of students, or future students obviously, that would actually need help. Now obviously a lot of them don't necessarily need help, but someone like Ochaku Uraraka, who gets stuck underneath like a pile of kind of rubble and other things like that, he's actually able to help her and help her pretty quickly, utilizing his abilities of kind of moving on his own, or moving his body parts moving on their own. He goes in, saves her pretty swiftly, and gets her out of harm's way. And after getting her out of harm's way, the clock would eventually sound off and it would eventually be over. And Izuku felt like, and feels like, he did pretty damn well. Now, how well did he do? He doesn't 100% know until he finally gets the letter in the mail. But when he gets the letter in the mail and he sees how well he did, and he sees the level that he really got to, he is blown away. I mean, obviously he thought he did well, but this well, he never in his wildest dreams thought he would have done this well, because he is now the number 1 student in the future of Class 1A. And this would shock him, because he felt like he did really good, but honestly he didn't know if really everyone else didn't do that good, right? So he's kind of like, whoa, you know what, this is kind of crazy that like I ended up doing this freaking good. And he's pretty shocked by this, but then realizes quickly, like, this is what it is. Like, I could really do this. I could really be a top hero. And when he gets that letter from All Might, and All Might starts talking and says that the potential in him is so high and this and that, and he is in Class 1A and is the number one student, this would really make Izuku feel like he could really take things to that next level. Really could take things to a different level that could allow him to be, one of the better heroes that come out of all this. And that's something that Izuku is excited about getting into, and something that Izuku is excited about finding out about himself. And the first day of UA, I mean, he gets a chance to prove to everyone what he's truly capable of, because Aizawa would send them into a quirk assessment test quicker than you'd think, and he would have a chance to show his raw power by throwing a baseball as far as he can. And yes, he doesn't have a traditional kind of, strength-like ability, right? But he does have a pretty decent, sizable kind of strength, or kind of, strength to him. So when he throws it pretty damn far. Now, it's nothing insane. Like, he doesn't throw it like some crazy amount in comparison to some of these other people, but he does throw it pretty damn far, and everybody kind of gets some joy in this, thinking this is going to be so fun and blah, blah, blah. And let's just say Bakugo, he's having a lot of fun showing up Izuku, at least in this one thing, being that, literally he's able to show him up in the ball throw, which that's the last time he'll be doing that. But he is able to show him up in the ball throw, and he is absolutely ecstatic by doing so. I mean, he's like super happy. He's like, oh yes, I proved to him that I'm so much better than him, and I'm this and I'm that. And he's basically telling Izuku, like, he probably should just give up right now. Like, there's no way he'll be able to keep up. No way he'll be able to do things like this and that. And Izuku's kind of like, yeah, like, you'll have to see pretty soon. In which, when all this arguing would die down, Aizawa would tell them that if they think this is so fun, then how about they make it a little less fun, and they make it so that they're playing for keeps. In which a lot of them are kind of like, what is that supposed to mean? Like, what do you mean playing for keeps? Like, what's going on? In which he tells them, like, whoever gets last place, well, they're going to get expelled. And this would shock everyone, making it so a lot of them, they completely lock in, thinking that they have to really tighten up, because last thing they want to do is lose. So they want to make sure they don't lose, and want to make sure that they can actually, do this and actually kind of be the hero they know they can be, or at least have the position to do that. So what they do is they all try their absolute hardest, but there's one person basically one person that is showing up everyone in speed, in basically some raw strength abilities, in being able to show off his agility, and that's Izuku. Izuku shows off, and he shows off to a degree that a lot of people weren't freaking expecting, and a lot of people weren't expecting in general. I mean, the level that he's showing seems ridiculous, and eventually Aizawa does expel someone. Not Izuku, obviously. Izuku getting in the top 3 pretty damn easily, and this would lead him to expelling Hagakure. But of course, she would be back the very next day, and it would be all like kind of like a weird ruse that he does to make sure that they really stay together and really keep their mind on the right track. And that's obviously something that he really does on a day-to-day basis, right? He does that quite a bit. Now, as that all occurs and as that all kind of progresses, Izuku now starts with his next thing, or his next like training session with the class, and that is a heroes versus villains training, which, in all honesty, is something that Izuku is pretty excited for, right? Izuku is very excited for something like this, especially because when you talk about a heroes versus villains like training, we're talking about being able to get put in a specific scenario. And Izuku's put in a scenario where he's the hero with Ochaku Uraraka, and then he has to face off with the villains, being that of Tenya Ida and Katsuki Bakugo. And Izuku tells her that her job, just locate the bomb, right? Locate where it is, locate, what we can do, what we have to do, and all this stuff, right? Just find where it is, because as long as you find it, we should be fine, because he genuinely believes that he can handle Bakugo on his own very easily. Not in a cocky sense, but in a sense of he knows what he's capable of and knows that he can handle it. And that's exactly what's going to happen, because Bakugo comes spiraling down and he wants to fight. He wants to fight Izuku, but in a matter of 4 hits, Izuku handles it. He would easily dodge the explosion from Bakugo, punches him right in the gut, kicks him directly in the back, smacks him right on the leg. As he stumbles to the ground, he would land one singular uppercut, knocking him out cold, and Ochako's only running up the stairs as he already handled Bakugo in one go, in which everyone's like, what the hell did I just watch? Like, what just freaking happened? How did that happen? What even happened? He doesn't even know. He's at a loss for words, because or everyone's at a loss for words, because they never thought somebody would be able to handle one of the other students like that so quickly and so easily. Is he really that far ahead of everybody? And genuinely, everybody is thinking this. But of course, there are some weaknesses to what Izuku is doing. Of course, if somebody has some sort of crazy, overwhelming power that he can't dodge or he can't handle, of course that is an issue, right? That is going to be an issue. But after watching this, as All Might watches this occur, he's thinking to himself, like, you know what? This kid might just be the hero I'm looking for, the person that I'm looking for. And at the end of the day, that might be the truth of it. And that might be the reality of it. And Izuku is basically helping out Ochako now with Tenya Ida, as Bakugo is already defeated, and it's only a matter of time before Tenya Ida loses as well and falls in the wake of Izuku Midoriya. And they both, or Ochako and Izuku, are both the winners of the heroes versus villains training. And now it is all said and done, and Izuku Midoriya and Ochaku Uraraka might be the winners right now, but everybody else now really realizes the level and also the potential that Izuku Midoriya truly has. And they now know that he's no joke to be, or he's really not a person to be joked with, and really not a person to be looked down upon, and really not a person to underestimate. And right there, that's the truth. You never want to underestimate Izuku Midoriya. And it's just proof among all that Izuku is just at a different level, at least in terms of hand-to-hand combat. But when they watch Todoroki kind of show off his ice abilities, a lot of these people are thinking, well, maybe Todoroki is the one. Maybe he's the one that basically will kind of level up and show Izuku like that he is just as capable, and that he is just, whatever you can think of. And that right there is like, whoa, okay, well, this is kind of insane because we have two powerful people, two people that a lot of people never expected to be this high of a level. And Izuku watches the rest of the people, that includes Todoroki, and eventually it leads them to obviously going off to their next little the little portion of what they want to do, and that would be in their next training session. Their next training session is at the USJ, which is a rescue facility. And right there, that's a really good thing for a lot of them to get into, because you really never know. You never know with rescues, and you never know what you are going to have to get into. You never know, the potential you have to get into. And that's something for them to really understand. Saving people isn't just so cookie cutter, right? Saving people isn't so easy. So at the end of the day, being able to save people or practice saving people is something that they definitely need to do. And the USJ is perfect for that. I mean, they think that it's going to be clear cut and be able to work out and kind of learn, right? This is what they believe. They're going to be able to learn and figure things out. But before you know it, they're going to get some real world tests where they didn't expect in general to happen at all. And that is the arrival of the League of Villains. And Izuku is in shock by this, thinking that this can't be happening. This is insanity. But this will be the time where All Might starts realizing quickly that he does need to find his successor very, very fast. And Izuku, well, before he can even react, well, a portal would open up. And yes, his body would move out of the way quickly, but is that really the best course of action here? He doesn't know. He watches Aizawa jump in and start fighting all these villains off, and he thinks to himself that he needs to stop thinking and go. Because he goes out there and flies out there, yes, figuring out the potential of flying, but obviously doing it a little bit not the best. But he goes out there and he starts fighting. He starts brawling, and it's pretty obvious that he outclasses every villain here. It's not even close in terms of hand-to-hand combat. Yes, the actual quirks themselves are a little bit more difficult to deal with, and they're trying to actually grab onto Izuku, or at least hold him still, but they can't even touch him. Every punch, every kick, every little thing, Izuku is being able to keep up with even Aizawa, and they lay out the majority of the villains, but the other villains they're going to have to deal with is Shigaraki, Kurogiri, and the Nomu. And eventually a hand would go through the portal, and Izuku would dodge it, grabbing onto it and pulling him through, slamming him into the ground. Izuku, realizing that his hand, or the hand itself, must be the actual part of his quirk, or his ability to utilize the quirk. So Aizawa would then help Izuku fight Shigaraki, and they would actually quickly hurt him and be able to actually kind of almost put him down. That's until the Nomu gets in the way and starts fighting. Izuku pushes Aizawa out of the way, as he would then dodge out of the way of the Nomu, and him and the Nomu begin to fight as well. Izuku does absolutely no damage to the Nomu, but he's able to dip, dive, and dodge very, very easily as the Nomu throws punches, and he wonders if this thing will ever get tired. He tries to land punch to his knees and, different other body parts that could possibly affect the Nomu, but overall, the Nomu is just like taking it. The Nomu is just easily eating the punches, and he's thinking, okay, this is not good. Like, I need to stall for someone else. I need to stall for All Might. And that right there is the reality of what's happening. And that right there is literally what he's going to start doing. He's stalling for All Might. He continues to stall, continues over and over and over again. And eventually the arrival of All Might would happen. And Izuku would start by trying to help get people cleared out, but also tries to help All Might with, dealing with Shigaraki and dealing with someone like Kurogiri. Because for them, he can handle them to a certain degree. He can handle them to a large degree. So in terms of Shigaraki, he really puts him on the back foot, and All Might is allowed to fully focus on the Nomu, leading to him landing multiple blows to actually help Izuku. And it seems as if this fight starts swaying heavily in the favor of the heroes, so much so that Shigaraki and Kurogiri believe that it's their time to leave, their time to get the hell out of here. But before they could, Izuku is already in front of Shigaraki, lands punch and kick and knees him directly in the stomach, and then even kicks him straight in the head, leading to him laying flat on his face on the floor. Kurogiri tries to get him out, but Bakugo would come out of nowhere and actually use his explosions to halt Kurogiri, stopping him from doing anything. And All Might is able to continue the beating on the Nomu, eventually launching it outside the USJ. And this is when they start to basically converge on these other villains and start to converge to actually lock them up and actually, get them behind bars. And Izuku, Aizawa would face off with Kurogiri and Shigaraki to do just that. And with the help of Todoroki and many others, it seems like there is just a matter of time before they're captured and taken away, as other heroes would finally arrive and they would begin to kind of converge on them as well. But just in the nick of time, Kurogiri would get Shigaraki and himself out of there before something else could go really wrong. But this time around, not many of the students of UA would even be hurt or even be kind of brutally hurt in general. And it seems like Izuku deserves a job well done for what he was able to do and help other people out as well. And that's exactly what he gets from many people. Now, of course, he's not really allowed to be fighting and, be doing hero duties. And he is told that. He is told, like, hey, like, you can't be doing that. Like, this is how you get hurt and this is how you get in trouble and blah, blah, blah. So they do warn him about that, right? But at the end of the day, he did good, right? He helped out. He did good things. And Izuku has some other things to prepare for, especially because the UA Sports Festival is coming up quicker than you think. And this is when All Might finally decides, like, you know what? Yeah, this is it. This is what he decides. He decides that he believes in Izuku, that Izuku deserves this chance, that Izuku deserves to really take his kind of level to that next step and take that kind of chance as high as possible. And that's the reality of it. And he believes that he's the perfect successor to at the end of the day, the perfect successor to what he wants to do here, and the perfect successor to becoming that next version of All Might, maybe even a greater version of All Might. And of course, he's gonna have a lot of trials and a lot of tribulations here and there, but overall, I mean, he is going to do his best, and he is going to kind of show off. And after some time kind of speaking with All Might, he learns of One for All, and he learns of what he wants him to do, or learns of kind of the idea of, or the idea that All Might has in his own head about what he wants Izuku to do. Now with all that said, now he has all that handled. He now needs a choice from Izuku himself. Does he want to be the next successor, or the successor to One for All? And that right there is something that Izuku never thought in his wildest dreams he would be hearing from his, absolute hero, kind of just this person he's looked up to for so long, but he's hearing it right now. I mean, he can't believe it. He can't even wrap his head around it. The idea that All Might is offering his quirk, how does that even work? Like, seriously. And then, of course, All Might would tell him that, yeah, he's gonna have to eat his hair. And he's like, what? Like, what are you talking about? Like, eat your hair? In which they have a little bit of an explanation and, stuff like that. And of course, that's obviously something that is going to have to be talked about just briefly enough so that they can figure out what they got to do. But overall, Izuku feels that he is fully prepared to take on this quirk this quirk that is being offered to him, and fully prepared, feels that he's fully prepared to really take himself to that next level. And he believes that this right here is what will take him to that next level. So he tells him that he'll take on the quirk of One For All, but let's just say preparing for the UA Sports Festival as well makes things a bit odd. But luckily, Izuku himself kind of has an understanding of martial arts, how to control power, and really like kind of do things without, you know, maxing out your strength. And Izuku's ability to do this definitely helps him avoid utilizing One For All to the let's just say extent that would blow your arm off. So he makes sure to keep himself tame, but as he goes into that UA Sports Festival, he has a lot to think about in terms of, you know, not overdoing it and not getting himself killed, because if he just, you know, overdoes it and gets, you know, and obliterates his own body, that's not very good, and that definitely will not bode well for his journey to continuing on being the hero that he wants to be. But of course, Izuku naturally with his quirk and so on, he's already so good at what he's able to do. So when we have the obstacle course race, he blitzes through it like no big deal, getting around in the top 3 to top 5. Yes, he doesn't get number 1, but he still has enough points where it's pretty damn easy to set up for this next kind of event, being that of the cavalry battle, being that he actually teams up with Tokiyami, teams up with Ochako, and even teams up with Meihatsume. It makes things very easy to especially hold on to his own band, especially because he moves out of the way so simply. Now everyone else, they kind of help out in different ways, especially with Tokiyami, being that Dark Shadow is arguably one of the perfect things to defend them for this kind of scenario / practice, you could say, right? Kind of this training like session. And after this is all said and done, they pass to that next portion, being that of the 1 versus 1s. And this right here is when Izuku realizes that he will be the number 1 student in class in the first year of class, because 1 versus 1s is exactly his alleyway, is exactly what he can do. And yes, he faces off with Shinso first, leading to him actually being mind controlled, but this time around, One For All doesn't even help him wake up. It's actually just Ultra Instinct that allows him to literally handle Shinso easily. His body will not let him walk off the kind of the platform, and he walks forward anyways in a trance and knocks Shinso out of the platform and or kind of the stage, gets him out of there and eliminates him in one foul swoop. And the next one, or the next fight, is something that Izuku Midoriya, let's just say, has been wondering and honestly thinking about quite a bit. That's a fight against Shoto Todoroki. And this fight is something he's been thinking about because he doesn't know if he can handle it. And this excites him. And when he starts getting ice and large icebergs thrown his way, he's dodging his way through, but he begins to get overwhelmed, leading to him actually activating a tiny bit of One For All and shattering through the ice itself. And when All Might's watching this, he's in shock because he believes that that Izuku just used 100% and he's not hurt. But the thing is he didn't. It seems as if the quirk that he has and Ultra Instinct coincide pretty damn well. So when he actually only used a little bit, a tiny bit of One For All, being that of like 5%, it looked at the same deal that he would have been punching or hitting at 100. Now, I'm not saying 5% and 100% are equal to any extent, but it does kind of give Izuku the control that he normally wouldn't have. And it seems as if Ultra Instinct and One For All meld so perfectly together that it allows him to kind of push the boundaries of One For All more than what All Might would have even expected in the first place. And that right there just shows the potential Izuku has, obliterating through the ice and eventually getting into the face or right next to the face of Shoto Todoroki, kicking him directly outside the ring and defeating him in battle. And as he does, all that he has next is Tenya Ida and then the eventual final battle. And Tenya, I'm going to be honest, can't really keep up with the actual speed of Izuku Midoriya, defeating him quickly and swiftly. And then eventually Izuku is faced off with his childhood rival, Katsuki Bakugo. But Izuku tells him that being a rival, well, doesn't necessarily make sense. They might have been in the same class, might have sat next to each other, and might have been kind of dealing with each other's attitudes, slash Izuku dealing with, Bakugo's attitude here and there. They might have dealt with each other throughout middle school, but every time that this happened, every time they stepped to this plate, Bakugo always lost. And Izuku would tell him that every single time you would lose, every single time you would fall short, and every single time you would fail. And he tells Bakugo that he should think about that as this fight is happening, because it's just going to be another mark on why he can't beat Izuku Midoriya, in which they would clash, they would fight, and it would be a spectacle. Everybody would watch as explosions would ring out, and the beauty of this fight would be amazing. Same with Shoto Todoroki's, where you have explosions or you have ice trickling everywhere and so on and so forth. But eventually, Izuku would get the best of him, grabbing the arm of Bakugo, slamming him directly down, and quickly and swiftly handling him as he would punch him in the gut and send him flying outside. Send him flying directly to the out of bounds. And he is counted right out of bounds. And everybody is, watching in shock. They're thinking, whoa, this is insane. How? Like, seriously, how did he do that? How did he get to that point? How was he able and capable of really kind of handling Bakugo in that way, or handling kind of just fighting him in that way? And let's just say Izuku Midoriya, stands tall, and he stands in front of everybody, and everybody cheers. Everybody stands out of their seats and cheers on Izuku, looking at him as that next great hero. But someone else is also watching, and that is All Might, believing that he made that right choice, even if some other people don't believe he did. And that is fine with him, because Izuku Midoriya, he would then listen to All Might, and when they would head to their own kind of internships, you could say, Izuku would listen and go work and train with Gran Torino, training multiple days with One For All, learning and mastering different aspects that he never thought about, and even learning and mastering and allowing his body to really understand kind of new fighting styles that Gran Torino could now teach him. This helps him massively, helps him in almost every regard, helps him in almost every single fighting style that he knows he can perfect. And Gran Torino believes that he's prepared and ready, so he thinks, you know what, let's go out, let's go take on some villains, or let's go try to take some people down, or kind of save some people depending on the issues and situations. They head off to Hosu City thinking that things will be, mellow enough for a student to learn. But what they didn't know is that things would be happening quicker than you would imagine. Nomus all alike would be clashing and fighting, and would be trying to hurt other people within the city, and they would be on kind of the duty of saving people as much as possible. And as Izuku saves another person, he could hear something from a nearby alleyway that he wasn't expecting to be fully occupied. He heads there and sees that Tenya Ida has a blade to the back of his head, about to be struck by the hero killer. Without a moment's notice, Izuku would go diving straight forward, attacking the hero killer, landing a kick, an uppercut, and then a punch straight through what feels to be his stomach. It doesn't obviously go straight through his stomach, but he punches him hard enough that it sends him flying toward a wall. He would help Tenya up, and he couldn't even move, fully paralyzed. And Izuku tells him to stay still, don't move, because he has he has the ability to protect him, and that if he doesn't, well, then there's an issue there. Tenya tells him that it's not his fight and blah, 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 and all this other BS. And Izuku tells him that it's his fight now, and that's all that matters. Izuku standing face to face with the hero killer, and they go at it in terms of this fight. The hero killer might have blades, but Izuku has the ability to dodge so seamlessly, and it seems as if Izuku's ability to move, dodge, weave, and honestly his body moving on its own helps him so drastically in a fight against someone so technical as the hero killer. And Izuku would lean on that kind of skill, but also kind of lean on the ideas that Gran Torino has given and set within him and allowed him to do. Being able to fight, clash, and even scratch and claw his way through this fight, leading to him landing crucial blows on the hero killer and utilizing One For All at 10%, landing a punch straight to the jaw and then another punch straight to the temple, leading to the hero killer being out completely cold. And Izuku would stand there ready for more of a fight if need be, but Gran Torino would eventually arrive with other heroes to actually help out. And well, yes, Izuku does get in a bit of trouble, but still everybody gets arrested, everybody gets handled, and everybody kind of gets settled. And Izuku watches as the hero killer and many others get put behind bars, and he does, get a bit of an earful, but he tells Gran Torino that he was just trying to help people. That's all he was trying to do. And then he came across this, and he couldn't just not help out. He couldn't just not go in and do something about what was happening. And Gran Torino nods his head and says that he did good. And he reminds him so much of Toshinori, in which obviously he's referring to All Might himself. But Izuku nods his head and says thank you and asks him basically what's going to happen now. And Gran Torino says that he'll probably get a bit of a vacation, you could say. And that is, well, taking away Gran Torino's ability to be a hero for a little while. But Izuku should go off at least scot-free for a little bit. But he tells the kid that he has a lot of potential, so do not screw it up and do not let your classmates hold you back. And he tells Tenya Ida that he better get his shit together or else. And he's dead serious about that. And he tells the kid, or tells Izuku, that they'll be training again very, very soon. And they'll be speaking very, very soon as well. And he would leave them be as Izuku would get prepared and even head back to UA. And now his preparation would begin for the final exam, or the quote-unquote final exam. And Izuku Midoriya would kind of start preparing for it, easily do the testing portion or the written portion. But the practical is what everybody's surprised by, as they actually are going to be matched up 1 versus 1 against some of the actual teachers, but someone else is 1 versus 1. Izuku Midoriya is going to go 1-on-1 with Aizawa. And it might sound odd, but it's the truth, because Aizawa is going to be able to see what Izuku is capable of and truly made of when he can no longer utilize his quirk, and all he can do is utilize what he's learned and figure out what he can do, without his ability to move, or his body's ability to move on its own. Sometimes you do gotta think, especially in this line of work, and that is what he's going to realize when he goes 1-on-1 with his own sensei. But with that said, that's going to wait till part 2 of 2, or the finale of What If Deku Had Ultra Instinct. Izuku Midoriya has one final test for his final exam, and that is to go head-to-head against Shota Aizawa, other known as Eraserhead. And this whole test is kind of driven from the idea that Izuku won't actually be able to utilize his quirk, or at least that's the thought, that he won't be able to utilize his quirk. Now, obviously, he wouldn't be able to utilize One For All. That's a given. Izuku's ability to use One For All isn't fully embedded within his body, and it still is being utilized throughout it, kind of like a power-up. So it's not necessarily going to be able to be used, without, having the quirk necessarily active. So, of course, that will affect him when taking on Aizawa. But when he takes him on, the question is, will his Ultra Instinct or his instinctual quirk shut him down? Will it make it so he's unable to actually utilize it? And that is, well, for one, the question that is going to be asked, and the question that is going to be shown pretty quickly. And, well, let's just say Izuku goes to face off with Aizawa, and to go face with him in general, one-on-one. And this is something a lot of the students are keen on watching. And this all starts initially with Izuku working his way through kind of the city or the fake area. And as he works his way through, he's looking for his own openings, looking to actually catch Aizawa off guard. But Aizawa is pretty damn good at paying attention to his surroundings, so Aizawa would get the jump on Izuku. And as he gets the jump on Izuku, Izuku would realize quickly of where he's coming from, and before you know it, he moves out of the way and lands a kick straight to Aizawa's stomach, and he realizes quickly that yes, One For All is no longer able to be used because of Aizawa's quirk, but it seems as if his Ultra Instinct quirk, or his ability to actually utilize Ultra Instinct, is actually still able to be used. Now, there's a lot of question marks for Izuku, but having this ability is something that he is very happy that he has, because when he starts fighting Aizawa, his body instinctually starts moving away from the eyesight of Aizawa, and Aizawa quickly realizes that actually taking on Izuku in the way he is going to be very, very difficult. And that right there is the truth behind this fight. Izuku stays out of the glance of Aizawa as much as possible, leading to, eventually One For All activating again, and leading to Izuku landing one critical blow that would send Aizawa spiraling toward a building, and leading to Izuku being able to actually knock out / capture Aizawa with capture tape. And everyone is watching in awe at the fact that Izuku's ability to move without, literally or move his body parts without thinking is, well, able to be used even when his quirk is canceled. And they all begin to think, and even Aizawa begins to think, that his ability to move without thinking isn't actually a quirk. It's actually a part of him, something deep within inside him, maybe a more advanced version of a quirk that people would know, because they all know that eventually quirks will start kind of getting stronger and stronger to the point where people won't be able to utilize them. Maybe this is Izuku's quirk, or Izuku's power, kind of taking that next step, getting stronger, getting better, and nobody understands exactly how it's getting so much better and so much stronger. But with all that said, Izuku's power, Izuku's quirk, and his ability to use Ultra Instinct allows him to carry himself through this fight. It allows him to kind of take that next step with proving that he is that strong, that he is that powerful. And Aizawa obviously is defeated, and this then takes them to the eventual training sessions, or the training at the Forest Training Camp. And the Forest Training Camp is a perfect time for Izuku to learn as much as possible. A perfect time for Izuku to kind of figure out some things, learn more from different styles of fighting, and that would include people like Tiger and stuff like that. And yes, he does have his moments with other people there, helping out with Koda and yada yada yada. But all this stuff, of course, would kind of involve just him getting better at fighting in general, and also his ability to actually utilize One For All at a very, very high level, something that he is obviously learning and wanting to get better and better at, and something that he is continuously getting better at, with the combination of One For All and Ultra Instinct coming together perfectly, allows him to really up his kind of overall ability and his overall kind of an overarching kind of like strength itself more than you could possibly think. And as this all occurs, and as the training would ensue throughout the forest training camp, they would actually never have an invasion. And the reason for this isn't because, Shigaraki and them are scared of them, but because they didn't see in Bakugo what they wanted to see in terms of with the possibility of him becoming a villain. So they don't send anyone there, and they don't actually have their attack start at the forest training camp. They have their attack start, in kind of a normal-esque place, you could say. The whole attack is kind of more involving with obviously All Might, and the attack itself is more involving of the students as well, because once all the students and all the teachers get back from the fight, or kind of get back from the training, or the forest training camp, they would be in school and ready to go. But it seems as if, and quickly enough, that more things are about to happen, and an actual attack on a city in Japan begins to happen with nobody actually knowing that it's going to occur in the first place. An attack that a lot of these other heroes are going to have to react to. An attack that All Might himself is going to have to react to, because guess who is at the head of it all? Not only Shigaraki, but the one and only All For One. And that right there is enough for All Might to make sure that he is in good position to make sure that whatever and whoever is a part of all of this gets shut down as soon as possible. And that's exactly what is going to happen. All Might and many other heroes, they might not be as prepared, but they do see it coming, and eventually it does show its face, and All Might and All For One begin their fight. But this also includes a fight with Shigaraki, and also includes a fight with the League of Villains as a whole. And initially, the heroes are on the back foot, trying to deal with Shigaraki, multiple Nomus, and all this other stuff as well. And Izuku, he wants to get in this fight. He believes that he can really help in this fight, and he believes that he can make a massive difference. But of course, he's a student. He's not allowed to. And a lot of the teachers and Aizawa and all these people are basically telling him that as well, to not go off and do this. That this is going to be a horrible choice for him, that it's going to be all bad, and he has to trust that the other heroes are going to be able to handle it. And he eventually would decide to listen. He would listen for this more specifically. And the thing is yes, All Might may defeat All For One, but the League of Villains still are able to get out. The League of Villains are able to escape, but still Izuku feels as if he could have helped more. He could have done something and truly helped the heroes win at a larger scale. And is that true? Yes, most likely. But of course, there's decisions that need to be made, and of course, there's things to be kind of said slash told. And this was a decision that needed to be made, and a decision that obviously Izuku may have not agreed with, but it's something that needed to happen. And this would lead Izuku to being back at UA, yes, with All Might completely and utterly out of commission, and a lot of other heroes hurt as well. And on top of that, well, let's just say Izuku himself is prepping and preparing himself for this kind of provisional hero license exam, something that he wants to get into, something he wants to do so badly. And preparation for this is beyond what you think, because he's far more than just prepared. He is fully ready, fully prepared for this provisional hero license, especially with the first portion being that it's all based on kind of like dodging these red balls from actually hitting you. And well, it's easy enough. I mean, Izuku's whole quirk or whole ability is dodging and getting out of the way, so he's easily able to do that and easily able to actually eliminate people himself, leading to him getting to that next portion. And his ability of just raw strength, his ability to fly to an extent, and all these other abilities that he has within himself help him insane amounts with kind of helping out these other fake people that are in danger, right? These people that he has to rescue, all these people get saved pretty easily because of Izuku, his ability to fly around, find people, and do things that he wouldn't normally be able to do in this scenario. And eventually when these other villains, quote unquote, arrive, obviously we have Gang Orca acting as this mastermind villain, but Gang Orca and obviously these other lackeys show up. Izuku is far more prepared than ever. I mean, he is on the front lines, ready to go and ready to fight. And when he goes and takes on Gang Orca one-on-one with the other heroes or the other kind of students, kind of fending off these other people and fending off these other fake villains, it's pretty clear and transparent to them and transparent to everybody that Izuku's abilities that he has right now is on the level of a high-level hero like Gang Orca. And seeing this in real time, and all the teachers and other teachers and faculty members seeing this in real time, it blows their mind. I mean, they think this is insanity that he's able to dodge, weave, and just kind of get out of the way of Gang Orca all the time, and get out of the way of Gang Orca throughout this entire time. And it really is insane to watch. And Izuku does this over and over and over again, leading to Gang Orca trying to find a way to just get his hands on Izuku, because he knows that if he does, he might be able to actually do something. But even when he gets close enough to actually grab him, it feels as if Izuku just uses this chance to easily evade him and even just gets out of the way and finds a way to get an upper hand again and again, leading to eventually the defeat of Gang Orca, at least in the sense of the time running out, and Izuku getting his provisional hero license without any trouble at all. And yes, he does have some conversations with All Might about what he believes is the best course of action, what he should be doing, and this and that, and yada yada yada. But Izuku is always going to be preparing for what's next. And what's next is the eventual kind of work studies. And one person that actually sends his kind of regard and his want for Izuku is Sir Night-Eye, but he obviously does it through Mirio Togata. Now, a fight between Izuku and Mirio eventually would happen, with Mirio kind of telling everyone that he wants to see where they are at, what they're capable of. That's what he's interested in, and that's exactly what he gets from Izuku. Izuku being able to keep up borderline really outclass Mirio with the ability to kind of sense and dodge anything that comes his way. Yes, it is a little bit awkward because of his quirk, but overall, Izuku is able to dodge, weave, and stalemate Mirio very easily, but he also, in terms of speed, outclasses Mirio immensely. At the end of the day, his skill in terms of fighting is, for the most part, beyond Mirio's. And yes, Mirio is no slouch, and yes, Mirio is no joke, but at the same time, it's pretty obvious that Izuku's kind of whole ability and his chances against Mirio are kind of beyond what most people would believe. And Mirio sees why Sir Night-Eye is so interested in this guy and so interested in Izuku, especially because what they're going against. So he would get his recommendation and his invite to meet with Sir Night-Eye, and Sir Night-Eye takes him on and basically tells him, like, this is what it is, right? This is what we're going to be getting into, and this is kind of like what they're interested in. And that is finding Overhaul, taking him down as quick as possible, and Izuku's here to help with that more specifically. But what he doesn't know is that he'd run into him sooner than he possibly would imagine. Running into Overhaul isn't something that he really thought would occur so quickly, but when he's out on one patrol, literally a singular patrol with Mirio Togata, they would run into him, and they have choices to make. Do they try to take him down now, or do they listen to the thoughts of Mirio and let him go and take the little girl that is in distress right then and right there? And it seems like Izuku, he already has made his mind up. Izuku wants to take this freak show down. Izuku wants to put him down right now. He does not want to allow this guy to leave with the girl. And it seems as if Mirio, well, he realizes Izuku might not be on the same page as him, but he needs to get on the same page as Izuku. So quickly, he realizes what Izuku's thoughts are, and Mirio grabs the little girl and takes off, and Izuku stands in front of Overhaul, ready for a fight. And Overhaul says that he knows the kid. He's seen him before, but all those flashy tricks, all those little bits that he does, it won't matter in front of him. It won't matter to take him down, and it won't matter at all. But Izuku tells him that he can think what he wants. And when he saw him at one point, it doesn't matter when, where, or how, UA Sports Festival, and if that's where he saw him, he's in for a rude awakening, because guess what? He's gotten a lot stronger. And Izuku begins to show what he's capable of, bouncing off the walls of the alleyway nearby, smacking and clashing with Overhaul over and over again, beating on him like a drum, eventually leading to Izuku, out of just pure instinct, revealing a quirk that he didn't know existed within One For All, Black Whip, grabbing onto him and smacking him straight in the face with his feet, and then slamming him directly into the ground as Overhaul is completely rocked, completely out of it, and completely knocked out. And Izuku looks at his hand, realizing that Ultra Instinct allowed him to unlock this ability and unlock this quirk instinctually, not thinking about it, not even worrying about it, and he awakened something in One For All without even a little thought. And this shocks him, but makes him realize that he might have been the perfect person to take on and utilize One For All itself. The police would eventually arrive, and yes, Overhaul is taken in for questioning, cuffed, and made sure that he can no longer hurt anyone anymore. And now they gotta really take down the rest of the Shihazaikai. They gotta make sure that they handle what they need to handle. And Izuku, well, he helps out here and there with taking down the base, but overall they have a pretty easy time doing so. But there's a little bit of worries going through Izuku, and it worries throughout everyone else as well. Where's Shigaraki? Where's the rest of these villains? Where is the League of Villains? It worries them because they haven't showed their face in quite a while, but Izuku can't worry about that right now because Izuku has some training to do with his own classmates, and that leads him to training with, with various people, and eventually training with Class 1B, taking on a group of people himself versus Class 1B as well. Now, Izuku has his own little training regimen, and what they actually end up doing is setting up so the Class 1A versus Class 1B actually happens in a way that Izuku actually takes on a group of students on his own. Yes, they do have him or have people work and they even out the teams and stuff like that, but Izuku takes on an entire team of a giant group of people, or a 5-man group of people that would include Reiko, Yui, the Phantom Thief known as Monoma, or Shoda as well, and also Shinso too, Hitoshi Shinso. And this seems like a disadvantaged fight, but Izuku shows the level he's truly at and shows that there's really no chance against him. And all of them working together, and even Monoma trying to steal his quirk, it seems like nothing works, especially when trying to get the quirk of One For All and or kind of the quirk of Ultra Instinct, because none of it works and it just doesn't properly sit and really resonate with the body of Monoma, leading to him capturing all 5 of them. And Class 1A watches, and even Bakugo is pretty angered by this, thinking that he could have taken on a group of students or a group of people by himself as well. But of course, Izuku is given that opportunity with what he has brought to the table and what he's shown to be possible with his powers and his abilities throughout this time. And this right here leads to a victory for Class 1A, and a victory obviously for Izuku Midoriya. And after this little bit of training is all over and done with, obviously Izuku kind of pushes forward toward the idea of training or working more with the work study of Sir Night-Eye, and even working a little bit with Endeavor. But all of this ensuing and all of this happening would also happen to kind of bring up the idea of this training for the eventual war. Yes, a war against the League of Villains, and a war that they need to prep for massively. And let's just say this preparation is something that they never thought would happen, because the war is going to happen, and the war to get not only All For One out of prison, but also to really see the power that is basically being shown through Shigaraki, is something that is going to have to closely be watched. But of course, Izuku himself, he's ready for whatever's to come. And as the war would begin and preparations would ensue, a fight between him and Shigaraki would be a spectacle. And yes, Shigaraki may have this insane regeneration, this insane ability, but Izuku, throughout this time, throughout this training, did not let it go to waste, because he unlocked borderline every single quirk within One For All, and with utilizing Ultra Instinct, he was able to really open up a new plethora of ways to utilize them, and his body moves on its own. Every aspect and every quirk, from Black Whip to Fajin, any quirk you can think of, he is utilizing it at a high level, and utilizing One For All at a borderline 90%, putting him at a level that Shigaraki would not expect, and something that they could not have planned for in the first place. And they try to converge every single person there, every paranormal liberation, everybody, every single kind of member on the League of Villains. Now they try to send them the way of Izuku, and eventually, well, they would converge. But Izuku Midoriya would make quick work of so many of them. And yes, he would be breathing hard, tired, and exhausted. But Izuku Midoriya's powers will never fleet, and are not fleeting. And with the help of the other heroes, they're able to shut down the force of Gigantomachia with a couple casualties and a couple deaths. But they're also able to shut down even Shigaraki himself, as Izuku is given the option that he needs to take out Shigaraki for good, something he doesn't want to do, and something that he's questioning himself to do. But before you know it, Izuku Midoriya's hand would glow bright, and would glow with power that he's never felt before, and something in his body, every limb, every part of him, screams that he has to defeat him, and he has to take him out. The words of the other users of One For All scream at him in agony, telling him that this needs to be done. And Izuku Midoriya, well, he decides he doesn't want to, but his body does something different. And this leads to him sending a ki blast, something he's never really utilized, and he doesn't know what it is necessarily, to obliterate the body of Shigaraki, getting rid of any chance the League of Villains and the villains themselves have for a future that they sought after for so long. And Izuku stands there in his own wake, thinking to himself that yes, he won. Yes, he was successful. But what does this mean? He ended the life of another villain, and there really supposedly was no other way. But he hates to feel that maybe there really was. Maybe there was another chance, and maybe there was another way. And this leads to Izuku being sad, depressed for months, thinking about all of these things that he could have done differently, thinking about all the things that he should have done differently. But everybody else sees him as a hero. And eventually he comes to terms with what he did, comes to terms with saving the people he saved, and all of the risks that he took, and everything that he had to do to make sure that everyone was safe and secure. And he realizes that he did what had to be done, and maybe in another world, him and Shigaraki are standing hand in hand as heroes and not adversaries. But Izuku's journey is not over. His wants and his desires to be the greatest hero of all time is still afoot. And he continues to push that precedent. And he continues to push himself to that degree through his second and third years at UA, leading to him being at the top of the list and at the top of his entire class. And as he exits UA for the very last time and exits UA and says his goodbyes, his step into the real hero world is a great one, because everybody sees him as the eventual and the real successor of One For All, but the successor to All Might, the one they look so dearly upon and the one they think so dearly of. All Might, or Toshinori, is a legend, but Izuku Midoriya is going to be the person to continue that legend in his own way. But with that said, if you guys enjoyed, I hope you guys did, make sure to show some love. This is the end of What If Deku Had Ultra Instinct. And if you guys enjoyed the video and enjoyed the series, please show some love to the video, all that good stuff. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope all y'all have an amazing day. Later.